The first day at a new school is never easy. For Emily Carter, it was more than just difficult. It was terrifying. She had recently moved to town after her mother's job transfer, and the thought of leaving her old friends behind, the streets she knew, and the small comforts of familiarity already weighed heavily on her shoulders. Dressed neatly in a modest blue dress with her blonde hair tied back in a simple ponytail, Emily walked down the long hallway of Ridgewood High, clutching her books tightly against her chest. Her hazel eyes darted nervously from one group of students to another, hearing the faint giggles, whispered comments, and the feeling of judgment from unfamiliar faces. New students were always under scrutiny, and Ridgewood was no exception. She wanted nothing more than to blend in, to quietly find her place without trouble, but fate rarely listens to such wishes. Emily wasn't just any girl. She carried herself with a kind of quiet dignity, something she had learned from her older brother, Daniel Carter, a decorated soldier who had been away on missions for the past year. She looked small, almost fragile, but there was strength buried beneath her silence, strength she herself didn't even know she had. And sometimes, that hidden strength attracted the wrong kind of attention. As Emily navigated her first classes, she tried to ignore the stares. A group of 3 boys, Jason, Ryan, and Tyler, had already noticed her by lunchtime. They were known troublemakers, the kind who thrived on mocking others, especially those who seemed weak or new. Jason, the self-proclaimed leader, smirked as he whispered to Ryan, "Fresh meat. Looks like she doesn't even belong here." Tyler chuckled, his tall frame leaning casually against a locker. "Let's have some fun with her later. Show her how things work at Ridgewood." Their voices were low, but Emily caught fragments of their words. Her stomach tightened, but she tried to dismiss it. She had promised her mother she would stay strong, and in her heart, she carried her brother's advice, no matter what, don't let fear control you. The day dragged on until the final bell. Emily, relieved to finally breathe, stopped by the restroom before heading out. The bathroom was empty when she entered, her footsteps echoing against the tiled walls. She placed her books on the sink counter and leaned closer to the mirror, trying to reassure herself. "It's just one day," she whispered softly. "You can get through this." But the creak of the bathroom door cut through her fragile peace. In walked Jason, Ryan, and Tyler, their grins wide and cruel. Emily's heart skipped. She stepped back instinctively, but the boys moved in, blocking her exit. Well, Jason sneered, folding his arms. "Looks like the little princess thought she could hide here." Ryan chuckled. "Quiet type, huh? That makes it more fun." Tyler grabbed her books from the sink, tossing them onto the wet floor. Pages bent and smeared as water from a leaky pipe spread across them. Emily gasped, rushing forward, but Jason quickly moved in front of her, holding out his arm to block her path. "Where do you think you're going?" Jason taunted, his eyes narrowing. "We just want to get to know you." His tone dripped with mockery, not kindness. Emily's breath quickened. Fear tightened around her chest like a vice. She could feel the heat of humiliation rising, tears threatening to spill, but she held them back. She knew if she cried, it would only encourage them. Ryan leaned against the wall, pulling out his phone. "Maybe we should record this. Show everyone how the new girl handles a little Ridgewood welcome." Tyler laughed at the idea. "Yeah, bet she cries real nice for the camera." Jason stepped closer, his presence intimidating. "Simon, new girl, say something. Or are you too scared?" And Emily's heart raced, her mind flashing back to all the times her brother had comforted her when she was bullied as a child. Daniel had always been her protector, teaching her little lessons about courage. He wasn't here now, but she remembered his words. "Stand your ground, even if your knees shake." Gathering what little courage she had, Emily raised her chin. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to speak. "Leave me alone. I didn't do anything to you." Jason smirked at her defiance. "Oh, look, she talks." He reached out, trying to tug at her ponytail, but Emily jerked away. Ryan's phone was already recording, his grin widening as he whispered, "This is going to be gold." Tyler leaned in closer, towering over her, his shadow engulfing her small frame. Emily pressed her back against the cold tiles, her breathing shallow. She was cornered. And then, in the midst of their cruel laughter, the bathroom door slammed open with a force that echoed like thunder. The boys froze, startled. Standing in the doorway was a tall figure in a military jacket, his sharp eyes locking instantly on the scene before him. It was Daniel Carter, Emily's older brother. He had come to surprise her after returning home from deployment, but what he walked into made his blood boil. His jaw clenched as he took in the sight of his sister pressed against the wall, her books ruined on the floor, and 3 boys smirking in her face. The laughter died instantly. Jason stammered, We were just," but Daniel's voice cut through the air, low and commanding, the voice of a soldier who had led men in battle. "Step away from her." His tone carried no room for argument. The authority in his voice was enough to send a shiver down their spines. The 3 boys hesitated, glancing at one another nervously, but Daniel had already moved forward, his broad shoulders blocking Emily from their reach. Emily's tears finally spilled, not from fear but from sheer relief. She whispered softly, "Daniel?" He didn't take his eyes off the boys. His fists clenched, his stance firm, radiating the controlled fury of a man who had seen real battles. "You think it's brave to corner a girl. You think it makes you men to humiliate someone weaker than you." His voice thundered now, each word striking them like a blow. Jason tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. "We weren't gonna hurt her, man. Just joking around." "Joking," Daniel snapped, stepping closer, forcing Jason to stumble back. "Does it look like she's laughing?" His glare was unrelenting, his presence overwhelming. The other students passing the hallway had begun to notice the commotion, peeking inside curiously. Whispers spread quickly. Emily wasn't just the new girl anymore. She was the girl with the soldier brother who had no fear. The 3 boys tried to retreat, but Daniel's voice stopped them cold. "You will pick up her books. You will apologize. And you will remember this moment every time you think about picking on someone again. Because if I ever hear you've laid a hand or even a word on her." He leaned in, his eyes piercing through them like steel. "You'll answer to me?" Jason's face turned pale. Ryan quickly shoved his phone back into his pocket, and Tyler bent down immediately to gather Emily's ruined books. They muttered hurried apologies, tripping over their words, desperate to get out from under his gaze. Emily stood frozen, her heart pounding, but a new warmth of pride swelling inside her. For the first time all day, she didn't feel alone. Daniel finally turned to her, his expression softening. He knelt slightly, brushing a tear from her cheek. "I told you, Em, you're never alone. Not while I'm here." Her lips trembled into a small, grateful smile. The boys scurried out of the bathroom, their arrogance shattered, their reputations shaken. Daniel placed his arm protectively around Emily's shoulders, guiding her out with steady steps. The whispers in the hallway grew louder, but this time, they weren't mocking. They were filled with awe. Emily realized in that moment that sometimes strength doesn't mean fighting alone. It means knowing you have someone who will always step in when the world turns cruel. And with Daniel by her side, she knew she was no longer just the new girl. She was someone protected, someone seen, someone who mattered.